Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to rise to speak to this third reading of this bill, and I begin by congratulating the Minister of Social Development, Honourable Paula Bennett, who is very passionate about her portfolio, and you can see it in the work that she has actually produced in the welfare reforms. And as I stand to take this call on the third reading of the Vulnerable Children's Bill, I'm reminded of a 3-year-old who died in hospital back in 2007, sir. She had suffered horrific neglect and abuse and torture while neighbours, whānau and the wider community stood watching. Staff at her kohanga reo smelt cannabis and urine on the little child but did not notify child, youth and family. Justice came too late for that child. Her abusers and killers were eventually convicted. But they were the very people who should have protected and cared and loved her, but failed to do so. Her name is Nia Glassy, and today, as we conclude this bill, I'm reminded of that bright-eyed little girl in a yellow sun hat with a bow full of hope and promise, who died tragically back in 2007. I'm also reminded of the Kāhui twins and thousands of other children that have been abused, neglected and killed in New Zealand over the years, and no doubt somewhere in New Zealand, as we debate this bill, sadly there will be children being abused, beaten, neglected and unloved. And my heart actually aches when I think about that, because for me, unlike Ms. Sue Moroney, who actually says poverty is the reason, poverty can't be the reason why parents and loved ones abuse their children. Poverty cannot be the reason why they beat up little children who cannot do anything to protect themselves. As parliamentarians, we have the responsibility to give every child a better start to life. Yes, we are all agreed on that. New Zealanders are sick and tired of the abuse statistics we have had, and they've said enough is enough, and this national government is doing something about it and delivering on our promise. But poverty is not the reason why they abuse children. As a parent who struggled for many years to conceive a child, I know just how precious a child is. For me, my son is a miracle. And I cannot, for the life of me, understand how anyone could abuse a child. Anyone could not possibly abuse a child. And all I can say to those abusers is that may God have mercy on their terrible, terrible souls, because I certainly cannot find any mercy in my heart for them. Mr. Speaker, I get quite emotional just thinking about the abuse some of these children have suffered. But it's been an absolute privilege working on this bill as a member of the Social Services Select Committee and now as the chair of the Social Services Select Committee that has examined this bill. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the officials who have actually given us expert advice, and they sit up there now, and they have been nothing but professional, and committee clerks who have actually assisted us, and my fellow members right across the House. And there have been times when we disagreed on points, but I have to say that all members agree that we want to provide the best outcome for our children in this country. We might differ in the way that we want to do the job, and I respect that, but we agree that we want to provide the best possible outcome for the children of New Zealand. The coroner at Nia Glassy's inquest actually said, and I quote him, "Decent members of a community should not stand by, and whānau and other family members should not turn a blind eye." And I'm in total agreement with him that it's a shared responsibility. It has to be coordinated, collaborated, acted on right across government social services sector. Even the local sparky or the plumber, everyone who visits a house who sees abuse have responsibility. They cannot turn the blind eye. The future of New Zealand rests on what we do now. How we protect our most vulnerable children will show what sort of society we become and what kind of a nation we are. National government's reforms are major and far-reaching and represents the most significant legislative reforms to address child abuse and neglect since the passage of the Children and Young Persons and Their Families Act, sir. This will bring better government accountability, better vetting and screening of people who actually work with children, better guardianship and protection laws. We are making 5 heads of government departments accountable. For the first time, the Ministry of Social Development, Education, Health, Justice and Police are all responsible and accountable. They will have new responsibilities and child protection policies which will have a direct impact on every frontline worker. Sir, children are the most valuable asset a nation has, and we must protect them, and I believe that this bill does, and I commend it to the House.
I call Larissa Wall.
Kia ora, Mr. Speaker.
Kia ora.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this, the third reading of the Vulnerable Children's Bill. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues Rajan Prasad and